Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show.
Hey, we're on with Kate Visconti, and Kate is the founder of Five to Flow, a very interesting organization we're going to learn a lot about today. And one of the things that we do, obviously, with any of our guests is we like to ask questions. So, Kate, give me an idea. What got you into consulting, and how did that journey lead to starting Five to Flow?
Well, that's a loaded question because getting into consulting was an interesting journey. I started my career as a high school English teacher, so teaching and coaching has always been a passion of mine. And then after about 10 to 11 years at Huntington National Bank, we implemented the CRM tool Salesforce, and I was on the business side leading the project, managing our consulting firm at the time, Blue Wolf, who is now IBM, and totally fell in love with this tool and the strategic nature, the tactical nature, the business process side of it, the change management components, and all the human elements that go into a successful transformation for technology. And so I took over the entire program and became relatively close with the compadres at this consulting firm. And as the program was coming a little bit to an end to go into business as usual, I became enamored with this space and had the opportunity to speak at a large global conference called Dreamforce. And the vibe of that event and getting intimately involved in the successful sides of consulting
Right.
took me into that space. So I worked at Blue Wolf for 5 years, then Acumen Solutions, who is now Salesforce, for 5 years, and then PwC for a year, and found the heart of consulting is really understanding multiple elements of a successful program and imparting that knowledge on the client.
I would agree. I mean, and in particular, so you were at Huntington. Were you in Ohio?
Yes.
Yeah, very familiar with that organization.
Yeah.
I can share some of that in the debrief with you, but I wanted to,
I'd love to.
most importantly, find out, when you went through all those different organizations, I mean, that's pretty cool. And then the journey narrowed down to where you're now doing your own deal. What problems do you think you help your clients solve, and why is that important to you to help them solve that?
I think I would start at the very beginning of sometimes we choose a solution before we truly have understood the problem. And in the world, like, let's say back then, so we're going back to 2008 when we had chosen Salesforce. In 2008, Salesforce was still relatively new in the market. Cloud technologies were new, and a lot of organizations and leaders and innovators have a shiny new object syndrome.
Very
And
much so,
so sometimes we pick the bells and whistles or the shiny new object that doesn't actually solve the true business challenge.
right?
So I think my passion, as has always been with teaching and coaching, is to hone in on the actual challenge that needs a resolution and not get caught up in, the most common solution or a non-comprehensive solution. So the converse to that is truly understanding what the challenge is, what
Right.
possible solutions there are to that, and pick the best one to meet you where you are and take you where you want to go.
How do you do that? So, I mean, for example, I have a background in sales training and management development as well. And
Okay.
the whole concept behind how do you find the problem is based on your process. So, what is your process you use when you meet with a client to really get into the root cause of the problem they may have?
Yeah. It's a beautiful question to exactly why Five to Flow exists. We've built, in the tech space, I would call it an accelerator. In the medical or fitness or mechanics space, using analogies, diagnostics. So in any organization, when or let's just use the doctor analogy. If you have headaches and you go to the doctor and you tell him you've got a brain tumor, but he needs to run a diagnostic, run multiple tests, and uncover the root cause of the headache. Similarly, we do the same from a process perspective is administer a diagnostic not only to the core buyer or sponsor, but broadly across the organization. In the old days, that was all manual, right? Maybe I had an Excel spreadsheet or a scorecard, would do some interviews, but in modern technologies, there's great use of transcripting tools from conversations, deeper analytics with our diagnostic tools, and why we're called Five to Flow is we try to look at the holistic solution of the people, the culture, the processes, the technologies, and the analytics. And we say it takes all five to flow. So the how is true stakeholder engagement across employees, customers, sponsors, other stakeholders to then aggregate that knowledge that once used to just live in my head from conversations with employees. Now can live in the space that's more shareable and with the ability to analyze it for true insights into the program, what will make it successful, what would impede it from being successful, and how to mitigate those risks.
Well, it's pretty detailed. I mean, so when you look at your clients today, you're trying to acquire for your business. Um, who typically holds a decision to bring you in or your team in to work with that company? Who is that focal point?
Yeah, it's multifaceted right now across the C-suite, usually depending on what the transformation is. So I left the um, tech dedicated transformation space to be more in the human transformation space. So the flow part of Five to Flow is the neuroscience side of all of this and making sure that the people are equipped for the transformation. If it's a digital transformation, which we still do, it would be the CIO. If it's a people transformation or an org structure, it could be the CHRO. If it's a sales culture transformation or a product transformation, it could be the CERO, like Chief Revenue Officer or sales. We work with a lot of CEOs. And so, depending on where the core challenge has come from that brought them to even talking to us, we're looking at it very kind of horizontal agnostic, which is our diagnostic will uncover that challenge. Yeah.
You think about your ideal client. It's got to be a little bit larger organization, I would think. It wouldn't be a really small company. Maybe I'm wrong in that assessment. But when you look at the big picture of what you're going after, is there a particular sweet spot? Is it like 50 to 100 employees? Is it 100 to 500? Is it 500 to 1,000? Where are you more interested to go and have success?
Yeah. You're getting into the crux of one of our challenges that hypocritically, as I was talking about shiny new object.
Mm-hmm, yeah, yeah.
I'm I'm a very we can solve everything for everyone because it's a very almost like agnostic approach to problem solving. And my passion about it from interviewing individuals and teams is that we can help a single person because all of our diagnostics, once you complete it as a respondent, you get your own individualized report. So we could have a B2C model where somebody could just pay for that diagnostic and take our course. We also have a team-based model where if a team takes our diagnostics and the team leader, so let's just say a CIO, but the rest of the company isn't doing this, or a sales leader and the rest of the company isn't doing this, we can at least influence that team of 10 to 20 to 100. We're about to kick off a client that's just a team of 100 within a large global organization so that they then have their own autonomy within their practice to understand their challenges that they have some power to fix, where the larger company, let's say, steering a big ship past the iceberg is a little more difficult. So if you can make incremental change. So that's a very long answer to saying the size is irrelevant because of the accelerators we've built, that if one person or 10 people or 10,000 people want to use our tools, the data that then comes from it can be aggregated in different pieces by team, by demographic, et cetera.
So within that answer you gave me, I mean, one of the things that I learned is that so you can go into an organization, choose a for lack of a better word, a department or a section that really needs the improvement of what you're trying to accomplish. And then within that, delivery of your product and the results hopefully change the way that you want Five to Flow to impact them. Then the other groups within that organization might say, hey, I want that too.
Yes.
Would I be correct?
That is correct. Our very first client, which was Vocus New Zealand, a telco, that's exactly how it happened. We were working with a small new biz dev team, and when they presented it to their local CEO, he was like, "Why didn't we do this with the
Yeah,
accountant?"
really. How
And
come you
why
guys got it? How did you
and
hide that in your budget, man? How did you do that? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, like, our goal in a lot of this too is when you uncover what that particular group has autonomy over, and autonomy is a huge flow trigger just by way of teaching that if we're only ever able to do our jobs the way the organization holds us down versus at least at a team or division or practice level, you have some of that autonomy. The ultimate goal within that is finding out what other groups are influencing them or vice versa. So then they might be the next group to go to. Or if it gets up to the CEO and the CEO says, hey, this actually seems plausible that we could do some of these things to make some incremental value, that would be the goal.
Let me ask you a question. Currently, you have grown your business, seems fairly rapidly, but let me ask, how did the clients hear about you? Was it through LinkedIn? Was it through a marketing campaign? Was it through a conference like you'd mentioned earlier that you attended when you were younger in your career? Are you doing conferences? How do people hear about Five to Flow?
In the early years, it was almost all word of mouth from my network. So when I explained my career background with Huntington, 14 years, and then 5 years at two large global strategic partners who've all kind of disbanded to other partners or are still at Salesforce or IBM, all of those colleagues brought me in for work, past customers brought me in, and then they learned to meet my team, and we've grown from there where what I used to be known for in this particular ecosystem has now expanded. We do a lot of LinkedIn storytelling. My co-founder is a former professional athlete and coach, so we leverage his network. And then Alexis Yamakoski has been doing a lot of public speaking. So what I am very transparent about is because it's a relatively complex, nuanced, and innovative approach to consulting and coaching, that marketing messaging falls pretty flat because it's like, I don't get it.
Well,
Versus
yeah, it's not what your average cup of tea. I mean, you're not explaining something that unless someone really has some business acumen is going to have a clue.
right,
Trying to put it all together. They can't, I don't believe, envision, well, here's what this group can do for me.
right.
It's hard to communicate that in a marketing piece.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me about your selling cycle. So I'm a client and I saw you on LinkedIn, or I heard from a buddy of mine who worked with you that you guys are pretty darn good at what you do. And you meet with me, and I've got an organization, call it 500 people. I've got different groups, sales, marketing, manufacturing. How long does it take normally from the contact to when you complete agreement and then you start the process on
Yeah.
average?
Well, it's been an interesting journey to answer that as succinctly as possible. In our first few years, we were totally services, and services contracts are usually 6 to 12 months. So the
Right.
cycle is sometimes that long. Now that we've got a lot of automated diagnostics that are almost like the discovery, and some organizations will buy just a discovery to then do the second program. So we can, with diagnostics, if people on the call today or listen to this podcast are like, well, I want to go do that just at least for my direct reports, you could buy it on your credit card today. To get started, because the diagnostics are now fully automated and we engage in them, and we're very human oriented. Like, even though there's some automation and AI, we're very invested in our clients from a human perspective. So the sales cycle could be as short as 30 seconds to, we've had one that took me like 2 years that I was relentless about. So through that journey, it's definitely been very different for products versus services and renewals. So we have a client we've been with for 4 years that just keeps renewing. Um, and the interesting thing about that is it's not renewing to do more of the same. It's really expanding into other
Oh,
categories
good.
of we see all the problems, and this is the one we're working on now. And then we reprogram and reprogram to continue supporting that client.
So you are like a fine restaurant. You walk in and you got all these things on the menu, and you can say, okay, I'm going to have this little appetizer over here. It's pretty darn good. Now I'm going to have some of that wonderful entree. And oh my gosh, did you see the desserts? I mean, and so you guys can complement and grow off the success from your initial entree, using that word again, entrance into the client. So, um, when you build trust with your clients, that helps retention, obviously, of a client. Are your contracts, like you said, 6 to 12 months and then they auto renew, or do they have to give you a new contract?
Yeah, so for products, we can put you on a monthly or annual subscription. So with the 5 diagnostics that now live on a platform, the platform also has a coach and courses and things like that. So if you, just like any app on the App Store, if you're on our platform and you do a monthly or a semi-annual or an annual subscription, that's set up very specifically from those diagnostics on a team at a company. You'll get an immediate dashboard. So, like if it's a 1 month to 2 month agreement to then give you this action plan, imagine an action plan divided by a quick win, which could be 1 to 3 months, a short term project, which could be 3 to 6, or the client that we're working with right now about to sign a 1 to 2 year deal because of the overall cycle of that type of transformation. So we're very, very skilled and certified in organizational change management and understanding right now the world is experiencing change at 6 to 10 times the rate that we used to. By
Unbelievable
the time
time.
you get a project done, it's already obsolete. We've experienced that ourselves. We built an app. By the time it was done being built, the tech was obsolete and we had to redo the whole thing. So there's cycles like that that make the programs, you know, kind of go in
You
that.
got to adapt on the fly many times, basically.
Yep.
And with the world situation that we're in right now, not only economically, but geopolitically and everything else, no one's certain what's going to happen. And so that creates chaos in organizations. And when there's chaos, and it might be key personnel that you work with that leave and they go somewhere else. And all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, now what do I do? And you've lived through that with all the organizational change you've seen with all the companies you work with for 25 years. Change is good. I think change is good. I mean, it keeps you alive. I mean, if we all did the same thing every day, we'd be bored to death. So
They sure would.
I imagine it keeps you very active and very busy.
Yeah,
So,
I was, sitting next to a CRO on a flight the other day. I'll give him a shout out for this. He said that at his company, he referenced flying the plane while we're still building it and then having to pull up to the faster plane and p just throw our people
jump
from one
over.
plane to the
Yeah.
next plane, and it's a good analogy in that though how fast everything's moving and how to current, but then also you have to get people to trust to be on the plane in the first place, and lobbing them over into the other plane, how many of them make it over there, you
That's
know?
the ultimate trust. That's the ultimate trust. The first trust is you get them on board, but then you go, oh my gosh, by the way, 6 months into it, we're shifting and we're going to that plane over there. Are you coming
Exactly.
with me? And here's why you should come with me. And that's trust. And that's based on what you guys probably try and establish, I would think, with your clients is that trust level and why you make the suggestions or recommendations to do things differently in the organization. There has to be that inherent trust. Um, when you think about where you're at right now, have you ever entertained getting your message out through a medium like this, like podcasting, for example?
We've been on a lot of podcasts between myself, Jason, and Alexis. One of our teammates, Steven, is always trying to get me to start our own podcast. We've dabbled in that. Um, where we are right now is specific to kind of honing that message as we're basically in the state of jumping from one plane
One
to the
plane to
other.
another. Mhm.
And we've changed so much where we're technically a 6-year-old company, but from a productization perspective, we're only 6 months old. So,
Wow,
in
okay.
a world of changing that much over time, being small and agile and being able to pivot quickly, deeply understand this ecosystem. Um, the podcasting message we have is so beautiful to go from burnout to flow state, what that means, how is that operationalized.
Hmm.
And so we get a lot of value out of these podcasts, and I love talking about the company. And Alexis leans far more on sharing her own personal burnout story. Jason is all about the science, and I'm very much about the vision of what's next. And so uh, we joke about that where the three of us were on a podcast called The Disruptor Confessions with John Ayers. And when he'd ask a question, we all three answered it from those different frames and realized that that's probably our biggest superpower is being able to look at it from a storytelling with empathy, from a science perspective for the thinkers, and from a visionary future state for peak performers. So it's been very fun, and I'm curious, like, why you asked, should I start a podcast?
I don't know. I mean, you're very good on this. I'll tell you that. I mean, from what I can tell you, you communicate your message with great articulation. Uh,
Thank
t-
you.
yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in the English language. We need to use it more effectively, and not enough people do. But I think you're doing a great job with it.
Thank you.
So, let me ask you, where do you guys get stuck in your growth or expansion currently, and how do you plan on overcoming that?
Yeah, my team, I'm going to tell you what my team would say because they say this to me all the time and I struggle with it. So my self-awareness is high, but my execution is low. That based on like a question you answered, like, what's our sweet spot? And I'm like, it's all our sweet spot, right? Like,
Right.
we can help
Yeah.
everyone. I want
Yeah.
to save the world.
We're in
And
Disneyland, aren't we? Right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like, I wanna save the world. Jason's like, "Could we just save San Francisco first?" And
Mhm, mhm.
Alexis is like, "We can just save the burnout victims first, right?" And in this space, it's also connected. One of our original taglines was "Connected is connected." And so we struggle that I move so far away from being very niche other than the flow state and burnout stuff in context to operational effectiveness and peak performance is very niche. So if I was
Okay.
to say we're niche, but by what we do, not who we do it for and where. So we're global, any industry can do it,
Okay.
and it's end to end. Versus if I said we just do this little piece and do that really well, I'm so much more of a generalist and want to, again, save the world. Um, but so if we were to hunker down, let's just say on pharmaceuticals or hospitality or K through 12 and just like crush it, we could probably really do that. My mindset is, well, I could dedicate a person to that um, and
But the
move
problem
forward.
is they're not you, Kate. That's your challenge. Your challenge is you, as you mentioned, you got three some pillars in the three of you, but your pillar is the visionary piece. That can't be taught. I mean, that's inherent inside of you. That's what created this.
Yeah.
And so therefore you can't replicate yourself, Kate. And cloning, as far as I know, human beings is illegal. So I mean, so therefore, you're in a spot where you're unique, and you got to realize my message. How do I get it out without having more Kates, and or can I hire someone to replace me? I don't think you're going to be able to do that. So when you look at getting more business, getting healthier, getting higher performance in your clients over the next few years, how do you plan on achieving that with your customers?
Yeah. My go back to what you just said and answer to that question would be like Jason's vision. If he goes and executes on it, he's an incredible visionary as well. Alexis is a huge visionary as well. A lot of the teammates are tech developers. Our whole team is pretty visionary, and so they're each their own Kate in there, right? It's just that
Okay.
I'm more connect the dots of all of it, and so I feel like the go forward after the end of this year is gonna be where similarly to how you would run in consulting, that there's somebody that's the sales cloud expert and the service cloud expert and the
Correct.
gov cloud expert in the Salesforce world or at AWS, somebody runs the hospitality industry, somebody runs CPNG. Um,
So do you plan on
so
expanding your organization and bringing in more people?
yeah, I think we don't need tons more people with effective leadership and automation, and partnerships. So our biggest play this year is partnerships. And given that if we go back to a medical example or your restaurant example, you've got the chef and then you have multiple sous chefs. You have the sauce
Correct.
like if you've ever seen Burnt, like somebody's expertise is sauces. So so if we don't do sauces, but we uncover that that's what's needed, we're going to delegate that to that partner. So we have partners in different technologies, in different types of services, and different types of coaching. So the true expansion for the tail end of this year is get those partners really well onboarded and get them into a
Okay.
sustainable model of selling the diagnostics on our behalf, letting us coach that piece of the work stream. But then if it uncovers they need a rebo, we're sending them to Primacati. If they need org model restructured, they're going to Aquis. If they need a Salesforce implementation, they might go to Publicis. If they're, you know, corporate, they might go to Vector Solutions if they're or Agile.
So yeah, you're going to align yourself with quality partners that you can delegate and say, okay, I'm not going to try and be a jack of all trades. I'm going to have people that are masters of a trade. And when I uncover that particular need, I'm going to have you work with this partner. But they're
Exactly.
all under the umbrella that you coordinate. That's what I'm
Yeah,
under.
so if you've ever seen the show House MD with Hugh Laurie,
Oh my
you
God.
know,
That was a trivia question where somewhere I was at the other day. Yes.
so he's the
Okay.
diagnostician with a
Yep.
team,
Right.
and if they uncover that it's cancer, they send it to the best friend, right? Like,
Right.
we're not oncologists, we're these diagnosticians, and so
A good analogy. That was well
yeah,
done.
so a better one would be, like, for Jason, who's a former athlete and fitness trainer, you got
What sport did he play?
football. He's
Okay.
a huge baseball player, but he ended up playing professional football, and we talk all the time about the plays and when you run a play and if it's not successful, how do you redo it? And you got the defensive teams coach, you got special teams, you got the
Well,
head coach. So there's all but like as a fitness instructor, he wants you to work on your stress and your hormones and your rest and your exercise and your diet and nutrition. So it's like this holistic view that if there's a particular problem that we uncover, we do that diagnostic first, do your blood tests, run your DEXA body scan, put metrics in place, and then put an actual program. And on day one, you're not doing 100 pounds of a squat. You've got to work up to that and get to where that's then sustainable. And I think a lot of companies right now, let's just take AI. How did Anthropic go from a nobody to a multi-billion-dollar company
it
seemingly
seemed like months.
overnight,
Yeah, I know.
right?
I didn't even heard of them about in March, I don't believe. And all of a sudden, my gosh, they've exploded into
Yeah.
where it's in.
So it's fascinating watching how much faster things are moving, how quickly they change, how fast things rise and then fall if they continue to rise. And so in that space of a fitness plan or a diet and exercise plan, whatever we do, if you resonate with athletics or a mechanic on a car, and you send your car in, they're gonna diagnose all the problems, and you only came in for the brakes, but now you need new tires, and they're
Oh,
gonna
that's
try.
right. And
Yeah,
your cooling system is just failing miserably, and your automatic roof that goes back is
right.
leaking oil. So all of a sudden you've got this. Oh, I just wanted to have my brakes checked out. Yeah, well, it's going to be about $2,800, but that's beyond the brakes. But
So
anyway,
the caveat I would say to all that is, for a client who just came in for the brakes and there's other things that would impact the brakes. We'll make sure that they know that. And you could do this other stuff, but if it's not in alignment with your business value right now, you can take it or leave it. I don't ever like to feel like I'm selling anybody something. We're very mindful about that we want to solve your actual problem. And we'll tell you what other problems there are that we see. And if they have high business value, high business readiness, and low complexity, we'll show you how to do it or do it with or for you. But my biggest learn on the buyer side of consulting is, or anything in life, like medical professional or my fitness instructor who's like, well, you need to come in 8 days a week. And I'm like, man, I can't do that.
And I have a life. Well, yeah.
Right. So I love the term Jason uses, this minimum effective dose of like, what can we do very quickly that's going to be effective and show value to get your people more productive? And then we can reassess them that fixing this one thing might have this collateral ripple effect that
Mm-hmm.
fixes for other things that we didn't actually have to go do. So a good example would be if we can remove 90% of the distractions from your day, the 10% we can't control is your own brain. But like if we have a model where we get this thing away from you
Right.
and turn Slack off and have you like focused and you become this much more productive, that might fix 3 other things.
Within your 10%.
Exactly.
Yep. No, I get what you're talking about. Okay, so let me do this because we are at our limit. We've spent over 30 minutes together. That went by fast, huh?
Wow, really fast.
Yeah, but it was great.
You're a great moderator, Dennis.
Well, thank you. It was fun. I enjoyed learning about what you guys do. To me, it was the perspective of how you coordinate everything and your 2 partners you work with. I like it a lot. I mean, it really shows something. So how do people reach out if they want to get more information, Kate, on you, your partners, and your company?
Yeah, it's very easy. I mean, I'll spell it out, 5to-flow, FIVETOFLOW.com.
Okay.
My email is quite simple. It's kate@5toflow.com.
There you go.
Jason, if you want to talk fitness and neuroscience, flow state and burnout, is Jason@5toflow. And then Alexis, who does a lot of our speaking engagements and is very focused on the stories behind burnout and the personal effects of it. So anywhere on the journey from burnout to flow state, we have all of our diagnostics are accessible from that homepage, or you can email us. But my favorite email, which is how I will end the call, Dennis, our group box is gratitude@5toflow, because the best way to be in a growth mindset is in gratitude. So we're grateful for you. We're grateful for our customers, our partners, our team. It's been an amazing journey, and we're really excited about the growth ahead.
You should be. I really like what you guys are doing. So thank you for your time today, Kate, and appreciate your speaking to our audience today.
Thank you, Dennis. Much appreciated. Thank you for having us on.
You're so welcome.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.